Welcome to the Patricia Joe Grover Show, where we turn believers into achievers. And today I have with me a special guest, Raushawna Price, and she is the giver of awesomeness. So this is going to be cool, everybody, because again, right now, all we need is positive surrounding us, and we don't need the negativity. So let me tell you a little bit about Raushawna. Raushawna Price is known as the giver of awesomeness. She is an author, coach, speaker, and radio personality. She's a fierce advocate for those who have experienced bullying. Her systematic and supportive approach to deep personal exploration helps individuals identify the source of hurt, recover from the trauma, and build confidence. Raushawna has a passion for helping people understand why bullies came into their lives and the reasons, and gives lessons that they've learned that they have. So what people have, what they have to leave. Now, her popular iHeart radio show, Awesomeness in Action, is a powerful platform for people to share their personal stories of overcoming adversity and changing negativity into awesomeness. Well, welcome to the show, Raushawna.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be here.
It is. And we hear about bullying with children all the time. And I'm sure every single one of us could come up with a story of maybe something at one point they either were bullied themselves or witnessed other people being bullied.
hmm
And I guess you don't think of it so much in the adult world or workplace or whatever. We don't think of it quite so much like that. So let me have you um, tell us a little bit about you and how you got into this field.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I grew up in upstate New York in Rochester, grew up in a great family. I was bullied as a child. It was kind of like we talked about, like many people can probably think about it. Or if you watched shows back in the day, Saved by the Bell, all these other shows, it
Right.
kind of came up, right? You might think about it as middle school, slamming somebody into the lockers. And throughout my childhood, growing up, being bullied, and then having a period where I wasn't, I went to college, I studied industrial engineering. And being a female engineer, that brought its own challenges. Being different, being an African American woman in a technology field, and so throughout all of my career experiences, working for General Mills and then working in public education and now owning my own business, I found a pattern that exists, and that pattern really exists K-12, a playground to adulthood. And I started realizing that the adult bullying is actually the thing that creates some of the childhood bullying, because people do what people see and children are taking cues from us.
That is so true. That is so true. You're going to link some things together for me today, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay. So, the giver of awesomeness. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so that's my official registered trademark. And it came when I was in the process of updating my LinkedIn profile. You have one, probably the listeners out there do. And I was sitting at my computer literally going, okay, Lord, who do you want me to be? Like, what am I supposed to do in this world? There's a title, they're asking me for a title, but who am I supposed to be? And it was really like this flood of people's voices, people saying, oh my gosh, Raushawna, you're amazing, you rock, you're outstanding, you're awesome. And then giver of awesomeness, it just came. And then a tiny voice said, trademark it. And so I did. And I didn't realize then that it would become part of a book title, that it would be a movement, and that it would really be the way that I am called to show up to the world, is to help people understand, yeah, that they have gifts, that they have talent, and that sometimes the hardest things that we face are actually breadcrumbs that are leading us to this inner awesomeness and what I believe is an inner gift that we have been given. Yeah.
So, I work with people, Rashana. I work with people to help them know and understand and find their purpose and their whys, because
hmm
those are all a huge part of achieving any dream or goal that they have. So I
Yes.
applaud you in that, and also helping people to know that they are worthy and they are capable.
They are
Yeah.
worthy. They are capable. You said it right there, Patty. Like, a lot of people need someone to help them see. their real gift, their real talent. And sometimes the bully actually sees it. It might be packaged in a really bad way, in a negative way. That bully still is speaking something into your life that you can use if you choose to as a gift.
Right.
As,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I work with people on that aspect too, is to take things and break them down and find power and fuel in them to move you forward. And that's the thing. Sometimes when, talking about the bullies and the bullies that may say words or do actions to be detrimental to somebody else, it
Mhm.
comes from, and I you probably tell us about this, but I know it probably comes from their own inner fears and the beliefs that they have that are, it's all negative, and it comes out that way, you know.
Yeah, so a lot of the conversations around bullying has exactly that. Like though they have something, and they absolutely do. When I'm talking to people about their adult bullying experiences, I actually don't talk about the bully at all, other than, or have them talk about the bully other than, to your point, what they said or what they did.
Right.
Because then we're able to focus on, they said and they did it to you for a reason. They're picking you for a reason. You have something. And the bully is on their own journey and they have their own things that they're working out. So often there's communication around bullying that is the understand where they are, and then you can understand where you are. When my philosophy is, and the way that it was really given to me as I was writing my book, speaking about it, sharing and creating content, is ultimately they're choosing you for a reason, which means at the foundation, you're being seen. And because you're being seen, that's how you build and flip that flow of adversity in your favor.
Fantastic, fantastic.
Yeah.
And so let's go a little bit more into the adult bullying, because I know probably there's more of it, or it comes from different things than I am even imagining. One thing that I think or feel
Uh-huh.
is when people will say, well, if they don't want you to do something or whatever, that, like, I've had people say that, you know that's, you're gonna end up getting hurt, or whatever. It's their thought or feeling, and they say that, or to try to keep you from doing something. They think they're trying to protect you, but they're
Uh-huh.
not trying to protect you. What it is actually doing is making you second guess yourself. and
Yes.
and, and so I don't know if that's something you were going to share, but I know that's happened, and it's even happened with me. But I have chosen not to let that be a factor for me.
Yeah, so I actually call that type of experience a hoarder. So all there are five characters that I
Okay.
like to talk about when it comes to adult bullying. I love superheroes, and so when I was really studying and really going through my pattern, looking at the patterns of clients that I coach, I was like, oh, there is a behavior and there are similar behaviors. So I gave them characters kind of like superheroes, because the only difference between a superhero and a supervillain is how they use their super. And so I was like, well, if these are the bully characters, who would they be? And what you just talked about is a classic hoarder. So hoarders, they see your gift, they see your talent, and they don't want anyone else to have it. And so they try to keep you close. And you know that you've experienced a hoarder, or you've been with a hoarder, or maybe you're with a hoarder, is when you start to feel resentful, or as if your options are being closed in, because they do love you and they want to keep you safe. And so they say things like, well, I don't know if you should do that, or go there. Or they may say, like, well, if you do that, like, well, I need you. If you get a show, Patty, and it's so successful, I mean, what if you don't make any money? Like, you should just stay here, like, keep it with
Right.
me, or keep it small. And so that's how the hoarder bullying
Right.
really starts to show up. And you'll know it because of the resentfulness that you may feel, or they're feeling like the walls are closing in, or when you leave that person, you feel a sense, and your body may even tell you before your mind processes it, because the body may go like, oh, you may be doing some deep breaths, or feel like, okay, I'm free.
Right.
Yeah, that's a
Right.
hoarder. So that's one
Yeah.
of the five what I like to call awesomeness stealers. So
Right.
they're the bull because they're stealing your awesomeness, and you may not even know it
Right.
because you may not have even classified it as a gift that you have.
Exactly. Exactly. So, hey, share some other ones because again, I hope our viewers and listeners are checking this out and are paying attention. So go ahead and share some of your other of your. How many did you say you have? Five or six?
There's five.
Five.
Yep.
Okay.
There's five. Yep. So the another one I'll share is the minimizer. So the minimizer gets joy out of making you feel small. And it's like a drug. It's like a high. People tend to experience being minimized in a slow creep up, where at first it's really just maybe a snarky comment here or there. Then it becomes more, it goes from being a private conversation, maybe one-on-one, to more public setting where it's many people that are witnessing it, or it's in a place or where the stakes are higher, where you're getting ready to go and perform or give a talk or even just present your own work. And the minimizer comes to say, well, it's not that good, or you think you're hot stuff, or, well, don't get your head, don't get such a big head, right? Like all of these small things that, especially as adults, you may just justify as, well, that's just how they are, or they're
Right.
having a bad day. Right. Or they haven't had their coffee. That's a good one. Right.
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 And the truth is that creates the eggshell mentality that's talked about so often.
Right.
Oh, I live my life on eggshells, or I have a bully boss,
Right.
and I got to kind of figure out, don't talk to them before 11 o'clock, or make sure they've had coffee, or let me present the good stuff and then the bad stuff. And we shouldn't be maneuvering our
No.
relationships in this way.
You're right. You are so right. There.
Yeah.
So, what are some? Are you willing to share all of them? Yeah.
I can share them all. So the taker. So the taker is one of my favorites because the taker infringes on the moment of joy that you have and makes you feel bad about something good. And the taker is usually someone you trust because you're calling them to say, oh my goodness, this amazing thing just happened. And before you know it, the taker is going, things always happen to you. You always get awards and you're always recognized. And I'm working so hard and nothing happens. And before you know it, the taker has literally taken the mic. And now all of a sudden you're carrying their problems, or you're trying to pick them up and lift them up on some kind of pedestal. And you've encountered a taker when you leave that conversation or hang up the phone and you're like, I won't share with them again, or maybe I won't share as much. And you start to withdraw in some way. Yeah, you're like, I can.
Yeah, I can do that, and sometimes it could be a family member, and it's a jealousy thing that,
Yeah,
yeah,
can be. It can absolutely. So the thing about adult bullying that's so, why I love it and love talking about it, but also why it's so pervasive in when people really start thinking about it, is because these behaviors are taught or they're tolerated, and they can happen anywhere with sisters and brothers and mothers and fathers, just like the penalizer. So the penalizer is another one.
Yeah.
And I personally experienced this with a friend of mine, my best friend at the time, who was dating a guy who I just thought he just wasn't into her. He just did not like her and wasn't kind. And one day she asked me what I thought of their relationship. And so I told her the truth.
Right.
And then she didn't talk to me for 6 months. And at first I was devastated. And then I realized that's her and she's got to figure it out. And he was a jerk and they ended up breaking up and everything, but it changed the course of our friendship. And so the penalizer is a person who withholds access or emotion from you as a way to punish you for being who you are. So they approach you, Patty, tell me, I need to know, I want to know. Or they're like, hey, what do you think? This happens a lot. What do you think? They want your opinion. And then when you're honest, when you're open, when you're doing the thing that you're called to do, that they approached you to do, it could be perform on a stage. And then later they're like, well, it was too good, or people clapped for you more than they clapped for me, and so then they start to withdraw or give you the silent treatment. Or if you've ever been with a family member or a friend where they're like, oh, it's fine. It's fine. It's okay. Where they start to give you these one word answers, you know that you've encountered this type of an awesomeness stealer, because that reaction inside of you is like, well, maybe I won't be so honest, or maybe then you start second guessing and swirling in your head or replaying the conversation, thinking, well, maybe I could have said it this way, or it could have been different. And so anyone that's listening out there, I want you to know, no, be you, all of you, because that is the gift that you bring to the world. And any of the awesomeness stealers, if you're encountering them, it means that you need to pivot, shift, or move into a different direction so that you can really give that awesomeness to the world where it's valued and appreciated. Yeah.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So, have we covered all 5 now?
One more.
Okay.
One more is the deceiver. And the deceiver is one that I warn for people that like to collaborate or work with others, because the deceiver intentionally holds back information as a way to control you. Oh, and so so you may find that when you're working with someone and they've asked you to come and be a part of something, or you're working with them, that you may be deceived if you don't get all the information, or you've encountered a deceiver, or you may be with a deceiver if you start to ask for more information and they're saying things like, well, you don't really need to know that, or stay in your lane, right? Like, even if it's confidential information, there's a way to say, well, that's confidential. We're working on this. And here's how your piece fits into the bigger puzzle. When you're with a deceiver, they don't want you to know the bigger puzzle pieces. And you have a puzzle on the cover of your book, Patty, and I love puzzles as well. And so ultimately, when you're with a deceiver, it's as if they've given you some pieces of the puzzle and you have no idea the size of it, what the picture is that you're making. And they want you to stay doing the thing that you're good at, which is producing or being a part or giving your piece. And because what the deceiver knows is that if you have all the information, not only can you do that part, you could probably do the whole thing and do it better. So that's why you need to know your awesomeness, your gifts, your talents, so that you can guard them from all 5 of the different awesomeness stealers.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And again, I knew that you'd be able to make me recognize things or understand things even a little more. And you are right. You are right, Raushawna. On my book there's puzzle pieces on the book of the cover, simply because my philosophy on life is that life is a jigsaw puzzle. And I won't go deep into it, but basically when we're born, those pieces are all thrown out onto the table. Some are right side up, so you see the colors and part of the picture, and some you just see the cardboard backing. And the box that's there doesn't have a cover on it, doesn't have no picture there. We don't know what our life is going to look like, and at the end, it actually is basically a collage of all the things that we have done and experienced in our life. So there's much more to that. But again, it's how we put and putting those pieces together. And it's a journey, and it's a mystery to be lived. Our lives are a mystery to be lived. But having an understanding of what you're bringing to the table is fantastic, because those people, then I want to go into, what can people do? Because I want to go to that, because if we notice from and recognize from what you've said, some of these people in our lives and how things have happened, or if they've already happened, or if we see something potentially now, you've awakened this stuff in us coming down the pike. What can we do? How do we deal with these situations?
Yeah. So the first thing is to start to recognize who these people are and categorize them. Some people are keepers because they're family members, and we're not wrecking families, but you can place boundaries around. These are keepers with boundaries. There are some people you categorize as they were a season, and now that season's ended because they're not going to change, or if you have tried to address it and this is just kind of who they are, then they're a season. And sometimes the season ends. It does. And you have to be willing to walk away from the season.
Right.
And then there are other people where they're really just associates. These are people that, based on a commonality, a project, a timing, you may come in for that and then leave, understanding that you don't have to take on the things that they say, or when they do say something, you can flip it into, oh, you recognize me, or oh, you see me, because every single word that someone is saying out of their mouth first starts with a thought. So if you're wondering, is someone thinking of you, even a bully is thinking of you. Like, you're running around in their head. You should be tired. You're running so much. Like, they are thinking about you. And so because you're thought of, even if from a negative standpoint, you're still thought of. And so that energy of I'm thought of means that there is someone that when they think of you in a positive way, or when you show up and you're in a position doing the thing that you're called to do, there are going to be people that are attracted to that. And that's what you want to go and look for and focus on.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
It can give one more
oh yes.
tip,
Oh
if
yes.
it's okay.
Yes. Fantastic.
So the other thing is that sometimes people have a hard time recognizing, well, like, what is my awesomeness? Like, I'm listening to people and I think I know. One tip is to start to pay attention to time. Time is a factor that helps us know exactly when we're working in our awesomeness. When an hour feels like 10 minutes, I want you to take a piece of paper and start to write it down, or get a Post-it note and put it on your fridge. Like, what were you doing? The thing you were doing in that hour that felt like 10 minutes, that's a part of your awesomeness. That's a part of your gifting. And then in the times when you're like, oh my gosh, it's only been 10 minutes. It feels like it's been an hour a day.
Right.
That's when you know that's something that's not a part of your awesomeness. That's something you can delegate to someone else. Or if you're in an environment with people, you know, okay, those are people that are draining me. And you can start to get a sense. So categorizing your time is another great tool and tip.
Fantastic. And that does tie in a lot with what I teach people is
Yes.
to when you're planning and scheduling and you have your A, B, C, D, and E. Absolutely have to do, gotta do, has to get done. Then your D is your delegate and your E is eliminate. And determining those times in your life, but also those people in your life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right, exactly. Right, because those relationships are threats to your success, and and also are weaknesses for you. So really looking at that. Well, that is fantastic information. So how can people understand how to move forward and past this stuff if there's been that I want to say that just negativity, that negative power?
Yeah. So the first thing is to heal it. So rather than ignore it, or maybe when I was growing up and being bullied, there was this sense of like, okay, well, you should ignore it. And then as I got older and was working and had a bully boss and all of that, at first it was like, I can navigate this. And so I'll just navigate around it. And it's okay. Like, ignore it. Like, it'll go away. What I want listeners to know is that it won't go away, because you are you. And the only way that it goes away is if you stop being you, or if you try to transform into something else, which will then just create a different problem, because it's going to follow you. Because ultimately there is something you're supposed to be doing and being that has to get out there. And so the trial, the tribulation, the person is going to continue to come until you step into it. So as you're moving forward, it's okay to acknowledge this happened. This happened to me, and so therefore it happened for me. Putting those things together. This happened to me, so therefore it happened for me. And spending time journaling or getting coaching if you need it to get the healing, because sometimes there's that it can be very traumatic. It can create either embarrassment or hurt or guilt or sadness, any of those core emotions. And so getting the healing that is required to then build on your future on a solid, firm, whole, healed foundation is what I recommend.
Fantastic. And that is true. Some instances could need some type of counseling or whatever like that. And in situations, if it is a family matter, could need family counseling to help resolve the situation.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, so much great information. I hope everyone was able to pick something from this and learn, because it is all about finding ways so that you are able to move and look at your future and keep focused on your future. And because it is all about putting yourself first and making
Yeah,
those choices and decisions of what you're going to do with a circumstance if you are dealing with a bully in your life, personal or
absolutely.
professional life.
Hmm.
So,
Absolutely.
oh, wonderful to have you with me, Raushawna. So
Thank you,
great.
Patty. Yeah,
Yes. So, do you have any gifts or anything for our viewers?
I do. Yes. So any listener can go to awesomeness-living.com to get it's a book that has 7 secrets to awesomeness living to help you build that foundation to understand how to give your awesomeness to the world around you and make the healthy choices that you need to. So awesomeness-living.com is where you can go to find that.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome.
For anyone who wants to find out more about me, you can go to patriciajogrover.com. Or you can also, I have gifts for everyone too. You can text the word GOAL, GOAL, to 866-926-4020. And I have the 7 steps to achieve goal achievement for to achieve your goals right there for you. So I have a video to come up. And again, thank you, Raushawna, for being with me, and for everyone. Until next time, have a wonderful day.